and I'll be your moderator this afternoon. A town hall is traditionally held to give citizens the opportunity to share their grievances concerning the government and speak truth to power in a public forum. Unfortunately, Congresswoman Hinson declined our many invitations. Very sad. In her place, we have an empty chair where she should be sitting, along with a likeness of our representative. Despite her absence, though, we will be proceeding with the most important aspect of the town hall, amplifying the legitimate concerns of our citizens and speaking truth to power. Before we begin, I'll share a little bit about what brought us here today, why this is important, and lay out some ground rules so we can be productive with our time. This event has been coordinated, promoted, and planned by Indivisible of Lane County Metro. Indivisible? Thank you. Indivisible is a nationwide grassroots movement focused on promoting local activism, resisting efforts by the rich and powerful to overthrow our democracy, electing local champions, and fighting for progressive policies. You don't need to be a member of Indivisible to participate today, but if you're interested in working with us, please feel free to speak to any of us following the meeting today or visit indivisible.org. I would also like to emphasize that we are not here to pick on Representative Hinson.
Oh, come on.
I know. We are here to demand that she represent us, because that's her job. This job. She worked and campaigned tirelessly because that's how badly she wanted the role of representing the 2nd Congressional District of Iowa, which includes Cedar Rapids and all over the county. She wanted this job so badly that she spent $3.7 million on her campaign to get it. Now, if you're not familiar with the role and responsibilities of a congressional representative, neither am I, but I'll keep it simple. Members of Congress, such as Representative Hinson, are responsible for promoting the interests of their constituents, that's us, in Washington, D.C. They must broadly understand the concerns, challenges, and opportunities facing those they represent, and allow that to inform their actions in Congress. Today we ask, how can she understand and represent our needs if she won't engage with and listen to us?
Exactly.
Right now, there's a lot going on in Iowa, in our nation, and in the world. It seems overwhelming, and it's meant to be. The rich and powerful hope that we become so overwhelmed that we throw up our hands and stop trying. However, as Iowans and as Americans, we will not simply look away while our country and our democracy are bought and sold at the expense of our citizens. Focusing on how the chaos occurring in Washington, D.C. is negatively affecting members of our community already. We have some individuals ready to share the personal impact they have experienced due to DOGE and the slew of executive orders from the White House. We will also reserve some time for audience participation. If you'd like to share and speak about how this is impacting you, we're going to have some folks coming around with cards. Just reach out to them, raise your hands. We have also provided comment cards if you prefer to provide written feedback to Representative Hinson. Those are available here if you didn't pick one up on the way in. Leave those with us. We're happy to deliver them for you. And a final note before I turn this over to our first speaker. We are here to support each other because we recognize that all of us matter and deserve representation. We'll keep that in mind. We'll treat others with respect. Name calling, finger pointing, and bullying makes for great TV, but this isn't a reality show. This is our life and our democracy at stake. Please treat each other as the friends and neighbors that we are, And note that any hate speech, personal attacks, or threats of violence will not be tolerated. And please also be respectful of the Cedar Rapids Public Library and their staff that have graciously allowed us to use this space. And without further ado, I'll ask our first speaker, Michelle, to come join me here.
Go, Michelle!
I'm sorry, I thought it was third. My name is Michelle Stapleton. I'm a retired elementary music teacher from Cedar Rapids. I would like to tell you my story about how DOGE is and especially the cuts to the Department of Education affects my daughter and many others in her position. I shared this story about a month ago at Ashley Hinson's office when members of our Indivisible group were granted a meeting with her staffer. So here's the story. My husband and I put 3 children through college with the help of state and federal loans and grants. My daughter Megan helped pay for college with a public student loan forgiveness program. That program gives loans for people who work for 10 years in a nonprofit school or institution. 3 years ago, Megan's 10-year loan was forgiven, but my youngest daughter, Emily, is having a very different experience. After graduating from college, Emily joined AmeriCorps, which is a national service program, and was placed in Sacramento, California. In her words, this is where she realized the need to support the work of nonprofits and found her love of public service. Her work in AmeriCorps led her to her first job working for a small Boys and Girls Club in Yerington, Nevada, which led to her present job as a grant writer and foundations coordinator at the Boys and Girls Club of Chicago. In the close to 10 years that she has spent working for the Boys and Girls Club, she could have quit her job at any time to work in the public sector, making thousands of dollars more a year. But with just 2 months left on her 10-year loan, everything is in limbo. The Trump administration wants to dismantle the Department of Education, which administers this loan. And since our meeting with Hinson's staffer, he has issued an executive order specifically undermining the program, threatening to cut off loan forgiveness for up to 3 million young adults because, in Trump's words, he believes some of the nonprofits participate in illegal and improper activities. So, yeah, Emily's nightmare is that she may have to pay back the thousands of dollars that have been in forbearance. So at our meeting at Hinson's office, I shared my story, and others shared their concerns about the DOGE cuts. And I remember this specifically about cuts to cancer research. The staffer listened, took notes, and showed some empathy. But in Hinson's written reply, she stated that she supports Elon Musk and the efforts of DOGE. She made a comment of saying that Musk was a special government employee who was not receiving a government salary. That made me feel good. In conclusion, if Ashley Hinson were here, I would ask her to be more like her staffer. I would ask her to listen, take notes, and maybe show a little empathy. And I would remind her that Elon Musk did not elect her to Congress. She was elected to serve the people of the 2nd District of Iowa, and I would ask her to listen to and fight for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Next, we'll hear from Jennifer.
Step over here. Right over here. Move you down.
Thank you all for coming. This really warms my heart. I'm Jennifer, and I'm here to talk about how the Trump-Vance federal cuts have affected everyday people like our daughter, Rachel. Rachel has worked hard at poor-paying jobs to finally land a permanent position with the National Park Service. Believe me, they don't make it easy. She had to work numerous temporary positions before getting a permanent job, education job in Denali National Park in Alaska. Our national parks are nonpartisan. Everyone loves our national parks. and they don't want the already low funding to be cut. The National Park System generates significantly more in economic output than the cost to operate the parks. Last year's visitor numbers to our national parks were the highest ever. 331.9 million visitors in 2024, but the parks aren't allowed to publicize it. Everyone Elon and Doge has been doing has nothing to do with efficiency and everything to do with privatizing public goods and lands for the enrichment of you. Thousands of our most hardworking, passionate public servants were fired by the richest man on earth without an ounce of consideration for the impact will follow. The people who pour their lives into the protection of our national parks and other public lands for very little compensation are now unemployed and some unhoused because they're living in park housing. Trump and Musk are taking unforgivable action on our country's greatest resources and the communities that surround them. Rachel is in education, and all of Denali's education programs for this summer have been canceled because of the staffing cuts. Those programs primarily benefit Title I students, which of course are unprivileged children. This is just another example of taking from the poor to give to the rich. As you can imagine, the constant worry is weighing heavily on all Park Service employees. When they go to work and open their email, they never know whether they are going to be fired or not. There's no plan being communicated, so they have no idea what is coming next. This is how the Trump-Musk administration is treating all federal employees. I'm sure we all know somebody who is affected. All so they can say, drill, baby, drill.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Next we have Cynthia.
I can be Cynthia.
No, you can't, not in this administration.
All right, we'll jump to Sandy. Do I have Sandy?
For VA. Welcome. I'm speaking up. I feel like I'm for the Lorax, but I'm speaking up for the vets. Any veterans are in here, stand up and we need to give you a and I'm the mother of 3 veterans. One of them saw combat and suffers PTSD, 100% disabled. Under the guise of improving health care, we have a wonderful plan to save money. It's called, I'm trying to figure out what it's called, but it's a policy that is trying to cut 80,000 of our workers for the VA. I like to listen to the things that were on TV, and I can't say it better than one of our veterans, and I don't think he's here, Joe Stutler from Lynn County. He spoke on TV. Anyone know Joe? One of his quotes, he said, "Why are you cutting care for veterans? You can't say you love us. Thank you for your service and send us back to pound sand."
Yep.
Plaques do not help our veterans, Representative Hinson. You can't say thank you, VA, and then let healthcare fade quietly away while you're out there on your 22 county tour. She met about 10 miles from my house on Friday with a veteran at a brewery in Belle Plaine. But we have no chance to meet with her face to face. This HR 740, which would cut about 83,000 jobs, including 330 in Iowa City, would divert public funds to the private sector. The idea is, let's just give money to the veterans, they can spend it, but we don't have any workers for them to see. Another comment I would like to close with, a couple of them, I write and call her office as well as Grassley and Ernst every day, 1 to 2 times, and it's easy to do. Some of the people are nice, but at the end of almost every letter, and this is one that I like to remember, particularly whenever I talk about massive job cuts. Ashley, you stated, and I quote, "As your representative, I was elected to ensure the interests and priorities of Iowans are protected and promised, as promised." Thank you.
Next up, we'll have JC. Thanks, JC. Come on down.
The price is right.
Come on down.
Hopefully nearby.
Hello, my name is JC Ahmed, and I'm going to talk about immigration, which is near and dear to my heart, always has been. I taught ESL for 10 years, just like somebody else over here. Teaching children that were immigrants was a joy. I taught a lot of different things, but immigrant students they're grateful to be here. They're hardworking, and I can tell you as an employer now, my hardest working employees we're all born somewhere else, and the only difference between all of us is paperwork. And we could go on and on, everyone in this room, about matters of the heart when it comes to immigrants. But I don't think that that's something that is being heard. So what I'll get to, that I know that Ashley Hinson focuses on, is money. The financials of immigrants. So, dive in a little bit. Immigrants play a vital role in Iowa's economy. If there was a halt put to immigrants coming into this state in the next 4 years, we would be at a $300 million loss. It's a lot of money. They make up 7.4% of our labor. It's a lot of jobs. And I can tell you as an employer, there are not other people that are going to step up to that job. We're in the
Right.
service industry cleaning.
That's right.
Everybody wants their house cleaned. Everyone wants their office building cleaned. Who's going to do it? What else I can say? Labor shortages, reduced economic growth. Immigrants pay into the tax system, whether they are documented or not. I don't say illegal aliens because they're not aliens, they're humans. But just think of the taxes that we lose. I hate to put it that way, but this is what Republicans hear are numbers. The amount of taxes that wouldn't go into public institutions that would deeply affect every one of us. And then what a lot of people don't realize is they don't get those taxes back. They're undocumented, you pay into the system, you don't get it back. They can lie, and they continue to, but they do not. They are not getting Social Security. But there are also the values that immigrants bring to the community. A lot of times in American culture, we don't get to live near our families and have that same social structure. And I found working with immigrants, whether it was as a teacher or as an employer or as a friend, it enriches my life. My husband is an immigrant. He's a citizen now, but I can tell you, as a citizen, I don't let him go anywhere without his papers. Our daughter, I made sure her school has her birth certificate on hand and our marriage license, because I'm terrified. As we all know, it's not just undocumented immigrants that are being picked at. It's not just the bad ones, as we've been told. Citizens are being rounded up. Permanent residents, as we know. I could go on, but I would hope that if anything, maybe our Republican leaders in Iowa would at least care about the financial piece. Thank you.
Thank you, JC. Next we'll have Todd.
Hi, I'm Todd. I was asked to read a statement from the American Metallurgical Society. I'm not a part of the organization. They wrote an article. It's called "The U.S. Weather Enterprise: A National Treasure at Risk." And we all know that the weather is important in our daily lives. And can you imagine being blind to what's going to come tomorrow in Iowa? You never know what tomorrow's going to bring. So thank God we have the Weather Service that gives us that look forward to know how to plan our day tomorrow. So this is a letter that they put together recently. It's online, it's on their website. So the U.S. leadership in scientific innovation is at risk due to the recent and ongoing reductions in the U.S. federal science capabilities. The consequences to the American people will be large and wide-ranging, including increased vulnerability to hazardous weather. The federal science workforce and federal investments in science are central to the success of the weather enterprise, the partnership between public, private, academic, and non-government organizations that provide information and services to protect the people, businesses, and the environment. Estimates of the value of weather and climate information to the U.S. economy exceeds $100 billion annually, roughly 10 times the investment made by the U.S. taxpayers to the federal agencies involved in weather-related services and science. It is the internationally recognized and highly respected means of multiplying value and benefits to the American people. Recent terminations within the government workforce for science are likely to cause irreparable harm and have far-reaching consequences for public safety, economic well-being, and the United States global leadership. The Federal National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, which includes the National Weather Service, is a vital partner in the weather enterprise, providing current critical weather and climate information that helps keep the people of the United States informed, prepared, and safe. NOAA also provides crucial foundational support for the enterprise. This support includes collecting scientific observations and conducting scientific research, developing and improving weather and climate models, and the provisions of public service such as weather forecasting and warnings, fishery management, and marine protection. These products and services are freely accessible to all people, businesses, non-government organizations, and agents, academic institutions. Other federal agencies such as the National Science Foundation, the National Aeronautics and Space Agency, the Department of Energy Office of Science, and the Department of Agriculture also provide foundational observations, scientific understandings, computational services, and services for the enterprise. Private businesses and non-government organizations use the foundation of science and services to create innovative, value-added products for their clients. Universities rely on NOAA data and models to advance knowledge and train the workforce for the future. As a result of these collaborative partnerships throughout the enterprise, the American people are safer, healthier, and more prosperous. This unique private-public partnership didn't happen by accident, but by design through persistent effort. Roles and responsibilities for private businesses, universities, the federal government, and non-government organizations in the enterprise have developed and adapted decades to provide timely weather forecasting and information to protect people, improve livelihood, save money, and add tremendous economic value to our nation. To ensure the continued success of the enterprise and the American people who depend on it, the AMS urges strong support for NOAA and other federal science agencies and extreme caution in altering federal roles and responsibilities within the weather enterprise. So it's crucial that we are not destroying our major science foundations. I mean, it takes decades for these people to get these skill sets, and to wipe them out just is unconscionable how they're attacking us. So we need to be better. We need to do more. We can't allow this to continue to happen. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Todd, for that very current reminder after the severe weather we've encountered in our country just over the past couple of days. Our next speaker will be Pat.
Get my stuff organized. So, yeah, good t-shirt. I'm part of Indivisible, but also other organizations, and one of them that I believe in because I taught in this school district for 42 years plus is public schools. So I'm looking in the audience here, trying to see if anybody is looking particularly smug or condescending. I don't see any people wearing pearls. So these are some of the words, well, pearl clutching, I guess was the word, but I received in our house, actually my significant other, a fundraising letter from Ashley Hinson, and maybe some of you received that, I don't know. I'm not sure why we did. We are lifelong Democrats, and we certainly have never given any money to Ashley Hinson and don't intend to. But it was interesting to read the letter. As Keith was walking to the wastebasket to throw away, I said, wait, I want to read that. And it is interesting because we know Ashley's a mother, and her kids are supreme in her life, as they are in all of our lives. And she ends her letter by saying, I want every child to have every opportunity in the world. Those are your words, Ashley. I'm assuming that these words from the letter are your own words. The problem is that earlier in the letter, she's extolling some accomplishments of our president. One is stating that there are only two genders, male and female. So that immediately erases or calls into question other people who choose different genders. And we know we've just had that fight in the state. And we want to support and give voice to people who might not have the strength to stand up for themselves.
That's right.
And a shout out. Who is in our legislature can teach and present an upstanding transgender person to the rest of the world. So I admire and respect her a lot. Okay. I mentioned those words at the beginning because those are mentioned in her newsletter describing those of us in this room radical Democrats. Because if you're opposed to Trump, you are radical. And she also used the word, yeah, you might say, okay, I am more radical than I was a few years ago. But she also says that there are people that are pretend outraged. Well, I'm outraged, but I'm not pretending to. Everybody is. I'm outraged that immigrants who come to this country and who actually do believe, as JC said, They believe that we are offering them an opportunity to make a new life. Those are the things that my grandparents believed when they came here in the early 1900s. I'm a much more recent immigrant child than many of you. I was a much more recent immigrant child than many of the students I had at Washington, who had ancestors who had been brought here on slave ships and had been in the country for a long time. So I don't say that I'm an immigrant and I'm suffering that. I have the privilege of being a white person who was able to get an education and have a good job in this culture. And that's what immigrant parents want for their children. I taught those children for over 20 years. Every parent I met wants exactly the same things that all of us here want for our kids. We want them to be safe. We want them to have health care. We want them to have a good education and to be able to create a future that will give them productivity. That's what we all want. Those kind of things are diminished when we say diversity, equity, and inclusion need to be erased from our institutions.
That's how Ashley got her job.
Yeah.
And as Ashley says, if we want to prevent the wasteful DEI things on the federal government. I don't know what's wasteful, other than they are preaching a type of change, perhaps, in our culture that is enriched when we bring in other people who bring us new ideas, new art, new music, and just celebrate the world in a way that we cannot by ourselves do. I think that diversity and inclusion underscores the creativity that we need to keep a vibrant society. If we don't allow our children to study their history, to learn about all the parts of our past that we aren't particularly proud of, but we know happened, then we are doing a great disservice to our kids. So I would say that actually, those are the things that you're fighting against. Not to have an open, creative, inclusive society, a compassionate and empathetic society, instead of a mean-spirited society that wants to reduce us and put us in a small, similar situation.
And that funds public schools.
Yeah. Other people have talked about public education. It's absolutely vital. Even George Bush, W. Bush, who brought in No Child Left Behind, which I wasn't particularly fond of as a teacher, did know that public schools were important. So there were and have been in our history Republicans who supported public schools. Unfortunately, we don't have that now. But I would say to Ashley, make the things that you say at the end of your letter, those values about being wanting to support every child, make those part of the things you fight for in other ways in Washington.
Thank you, Pat, for giving us an education on why we need education. Next, we'll ask Gloria.
Hello, I'm Gloria Smolik. I am also a retired public school teacher. I retired from Linn-Mar, and I also retired from being a founding sponsor of the Gay Straight Alliance at Linn-Mar High School. Which, to this day, is the longest standing Gay Straight Alliance in Iowa. I am so proud of those kids. Read this letter about what was sent out to students at Iowa State University. So kind of the topic that I want to talk about is what's happening to our students, to the research grants. The money's being taken away, and I see that as a big problem. But this also brought to mind a personal experience of mine, because a friend of mine has a student that goes to Columbia College, and she posted on Facebook that they're taking the Fulbright scholarships away from students at Columbia. Yeah. And I received, as a teacher, a Fulbright scholarship to go to Japan and spend 3 weeks. We studied the educational system, all the parts of the government and everything. The idea was, this money was provided by the government of Japan in thanks to the U.S. for the Fulbright scholarships that they had granted the Japanese after World War II. And they brought teachers over because their idea was that teachers meet a lot of people and can have influence, and that's how we create peace, through understanding, by knowing each other, etc. And I am seeing this current administration taking away, isolating our country from connections with other countries of the world. We need to be good neighbors to everyone in the world.
Amen.
So here's the letter I'm going to read that was received by students. Dear blank, and this was sent out March 5th. You received an offer of admission to the Iowa State University Department of Chemistry graduate program. We regret to inform you that due to current uncertainties with federal research funding that supports most work done by graduate students at research universities, we are unable to move forward with your admission to our program. Similarly, we would not be able to guarantee a graduate assistantship in the event that you were to be admitted to our program. This decision in no way reflects on the quality of your graduate school application. This letter serves as a formal notification that your offer of admission to Iowa State University Department of Chemistry graduate program has been withdrawn. I wish you the best in finding a graduate program this year. And we've heard about this University of Iowa, the research for cancer. You know, we know where cancer is in Iowa, Ashley. We need those research grants to keep going to help us find cures for cancer and all the other things, problems in the world. Finally, yesterday I went to a forum with League of Women Voters, and one of the senators that showed up explained to us, and I give him credit for showing up, okay? That I do give him credit. But he said the reason why he did not vote, or the reason why he voted to take away the rights of trans people in Iowa, in our civil rights code, was because that he received 200, and I'm going to make up this number, I don't remember it, 258 letters from his constituents saying they wanted their rights to be taken away, and he only got 3 letters that said that their rights be retained. So, to everybody here, let's keep writing those letters. Let's keep doing this one. And to you, Ashley Hinson, I want to remind you that you are here to represent all of us. And I think you're getting a lot of letters and phone calls, and I hope you honor those and pay attention to them. You need to represent all of us in the state of Iowa.
Thank you, Gloria. Next we'll have Judy. Brian.
Judy.
Sorry.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Brian Scalenza from Cedar Rapids, and I am speaking today on behalf of Judy Sheehawk. She's away on a family matter that I offer her best wishes in dealing with. Judy wanted to share the following statement with you that came from the renowned international lighting program at the University of Iowa. On Wednesday, February February 26th, the International Writing Program learned that its grants with the U.S. Department of State Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs were being terminated. This notification explained that the IWP's awards, quote, no longer effectuate agency priorities, end quote, nor align, quote, with agency priorities and national interest, end quote. The immediate result was the cancellation of Between the Lines, the IWP's summer youth program, and the dissolution of Lines and Spaces exchanges, distance learning courses, and emerging voices programs. The overall fall residency cohort will be reduced by around half due to the loss of federally funded participants, while the IWP's other longtime funding partners, including a combination of donors, grants, board ministries of culture, and NGOs, will continue to support writers. We are devastated by the abrupt end of this 58-year partnership and are working closely with University of Iowa General Counsel and Grant County to review the terminations, understand their full impact, and respond in the best interest of the organization. Despite this disappointing turn of events, the IWP's mission to promote mutual understanding through creative writing and literature remains unchanged. Now, Judy also wanted to present a quote from Albert Camus. He's a French guy who states that the purpose of a writer is to keep civilization from destroying itself. This quote highlights Camus' belief in the vital role literature plays in maintaining societal well-being and reminding humanity of its shared values. Camus saw writers as custodians of civilization, emphasizing the importance of their work in reflecting human experiences, challenging injustices, and promoting understanding. His quote can be interpreted as a call to all writers to use their words to defend humanity and prevent societal collapse. As a philosopher, author, and journalist, Camus himself exemplified this belief, writing about themes of absurdism, rebellion, and the human condition in his novels, plays, and essays. Now, as a writer and former journalist myself, I thank you for your attention to this important matter, and I hope that creativity can continue to flourish in times such as these.
Thank you, Brian. All right, our next speaker is Mary.
Great crowd today. I'm glad to see that. All of you came out, especially when it's not 70 degrees and you could be doing something else. My name is Mary Davis. I'm a 40-plus year resident of Cedar Rapids. And I want you to know 3 things. So my voice is breaking. I apologize. I've been struggling with this all day. I'm a little hippie. I mean, so I don't have the, small print granny skirt on. I wore my duck down shirt today. But I just want you to know that because it provides a perspective for what I'm about to say. Secondly, I'm a former print journalist. So Ashley was actually in media as well. And I think it's important for me to address an issue because she was in the media. Being a liberal doesn't mean that I don't believe in small government, because I do. I also believe in fiscal responsibility. However, the manner in which it's going about today with DOGE is very problematic because it's not thoughtful. It does not follow any of the kinds of things that I know one does when we are looking at making a change. And there's nothing in place. And so the concern is that they're going to make these changes, but we don't know what's there to then follow. And that's very problematic. I'm here not only about the journalism and the media issue, but also with regard to veterans. I may not look like someone who supports veterans, but I absolutely do. My son retired 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, as a naval intelligence individual who was also assigned to NSA for several years. And he also had some medical issues as a result of an accident that caused a lot of problems for him. And so he got into the veterans system. And I want to tell you that even though that's not a DOGE issue currently, it's going to be. It's going to be because any of the kinds of things that they're talking about doing now in terms of releasing those who work with veterans is extremely problematic. They do tend to have individuals who are contracted in order to process veterans who are going through the system. And I think the problem with that is it's very, very slow. And so my son, it took more than a year for him to receive veterans benefits. It took him 3 months to get his retirement pay. And so my husband and I floated our son a $30,000 loan in order for him to maintain his home and to take care of the issues that he needed to take care of until he could get his retirement benefits and also get his veterans benefits. And so it's very problematic before DOGE. It's going to be more problematic now because there's not going to be sufficient individuals to process what is occurring. So these veterans are going to be caught in the system in a very negative way, and it's going to be very harmful for a lot of individuals. I think that it's really important to understand that if they're looking at privatization of the Veterans Administration, I think that it's going to create some pretty severe situations for many of the individuals that are disabled or are needing veteran services. I'm not sure that the Trump administration can handle that. There's a good, they talk a good story. I'm just not sure they can actually handle what is occurring. Hinson has said a number of times that she supports veterans, so Hinson, I want to see you put your money where your mouth is, because quite frankly, I'm not doing it. I want you to know my son's doing very well right now. So having done this and he's repaying the loan that we floated for him, which I appreciate. The second thing I want to talk about is the media. And I want to talk about that specifically. I don't think anyone else has talked about that yet. But I'm a former print journalist. And that just means I work for a newspaper. And of course, newspapers are experiencing a lot of issues in today's world, as we well know with what's happening with the Gazette, for those of you who get the Gazette. But my concern is also that Trump has limited who can actually go to the briefings, who he wants to speak to, the negative things that he says about many of in the press. And I can just tell you, going through school, journalism school at Iowa State, one of the things I learned is that you're objective. You try to provide the best information you can so that an individual can make their own decision about what is occurring based on the information that you provide. With the way that the Trump administration is handling this, however, that's not going to occur. He only wants to hear the positive things that praise him. He doesn't want to hear about anything that might cause question to what he's doing. So, Representative Hinson, as a former journalist, I think that you need to push that issue and make sure that he is inclusive in how he deals with the media, rather than just choosing those who are going to sing his praises. I also think that rather than just paying lip service to freedom of speech, which is also a part of what we learn as journalists, we all have that opportunity. And with what is occurring right now, I'm assuming everyone has heard there's been 2 or 3 additional individuals who've been arrested based on the things that happened out east with regard to protesting Palestinian and Israelis. So I know a lot of Palestinians, and I know a lot of Israelis, and a lot of Jewish folks. So I support them all, and I don't see that we're seeing that occur. Rather, I'm seeing that we are starting to go into an oppressive situation for for anyone who doesn't agree with Trump philosophy.
That's right. Taking our voice away.
I want to end by just simply saying that the cuts that we're seeing in various ways are quite indiscriminate. I think we all know that. But I also want to say that we're the ones who need to talk about the fact that that is occurring. So we need to talk with Representative Hinson about the fact that these are indiscriminate. And quite frankly, I would also like to see Republicans grow a pair. So maybe two, simply because what we're seeing today is silence. We are not seeing any of the representatives really speaking out in a way that is reasonable, even objective. Rather, they're cowering in their offices, and that's not okay.
That's not okay.
So, Representative Hinson, it's time to grow a pair.
Thank you, Mary. Wonderful stuff. Our next speaker will be Sarah.
Let's go, Sarah!
Good afternoon. I was actually told that I was only going to be speaking to 20 people, so this is a little bit nerve-wracking, but I am here to talk about special education and public schools. I am currently a special education teacher at West Willow Elementary here in Cedar Rapids. I have been teaching special education for the past 22 years, and I would not change that for the world. They are the heart and soul of why I do what I do.
Bless you.
I could come here and just give you guys numbers about how underfunded special education in public schools has been, but I want to tell you a little bit about the why and why I do this and why I continue to fight for my students that do not have a voice. I have students this year that are in a severe disabilities classroom, and so that means a lot of my students are nonverbal. Another reason I am here to speak on behalf of them. I have students who are tube fed. We administer medication. We help with a lot of their physical therapy. A lot of our funding that we get goes towards those equipment pieces, any of their talking devices that they might need. And looking at the numbers, $803 million is awarded to 325 school districts across Iowa. The dismantling of the Department of Education would ruin a lot of that. And I worry about my students. I don't worry about myself, I worry about my students not given the opportunities to succeed every day in the things that they do. A little story that I have, there's a student in our second grade class that I have two students that integrate with. And he kind of struggles with reading and other pieces during his day, but he absolutely loves my second grader, Olivia. It's like the highlight of his day, and I worry about those pieces being taken away if my students aren't allowed to be in the public school system. I worry about Eloise, who has an eye gaze and has been able to move up in her scales for the alternate assessment that she takes. Without the funding and her having that eye gaze, she does not have that opportunity to tell us what she knows and show us what she can learn. I worry about Marquel, who comes to school always hungry because life at home isn't the best. And we provide those meals for him so that he can have meals and an education. Dismantling of the Department of Education would take away all of that for us. So I am their voice today, and I hope that they can know that I am here on behalf of all of them. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you for all you do for your students.
Yeah.
talk about some of the food issues that we're currently encountering, so I welcome them to the stage now with me.
This is Laura.
Let's go, Laura!
Hi. So I just wanted to tell you that Friday morning, I wrote a letter to Grassley Ernst Hinson and Mike Nag, Secretary of Agriculture, and told them my concerns about a $7 million program that got cut on Monday that took away the funding for local food for schools, daycares, and camps. And at the time I wrote it, I thought, well, I bet my customers might be kind of interested in my thoughts on this, so I put it on Facebook. When I looked this morning, it's been shared 700 times.
Woohoo!
Huge, and 99.99% of the comments have been, yeah. So huge interest in local food as a way to help feed kids better and as a way to help farmers better. So what I wanted to say today was that pick a thing, pick one thing. Like, okay, democracy, I can't probably deal with that, but I can deal with local food. And so every time I get a chance, I try to pound away at that. I'm a farmer actually from Mount Vernon. So pick your thing. So, and particularly if you're a rural person, this is really important. They're not paying too much attention to the rural people. So if you're a rural person, if your thing is water quality, if your thing is the VA, if your thing is school lunch, whatever, just pick your thing and be sure to say, I'm a rural person and you need to be paying attention to rural people. And then my next pieces of advice would be to think about becoming a candidate from a rural person, from a rural place, because we need candidates who represent rural people. If the Democrats aren't going to have open houses and forums in places that aren't swingy, then we need to have them. So have a thing at your house or your school or somewhere. There's some Democrats who can talk good, so they can be your speaker, and it'll take care of itself. You won't have to have a program because people will have things to say. And then finally, my last thing I'd like to say is that we need to give leadership to young people. And so if you do have a thing, push some people who do not have gray hair in leadership. And I mean, that includes me too. I'll get somebody else to do it. Push them in leadership. Have it at a time of day when they can come and they don't have to be at work, and make sure you have child care.
Thank you all for your kindness, and thank you to all of our speakers for coming today and helping to shine some light and help us to learn and understand about how this is really impacting our communities. I do have a couple of little housekeeping items that I want to address that came up during the presentations. First of all, we did make press releases about this. I have copies of them if you'd like to see them. I hope they're paying attention, but I don't see that there's anyone here. I'm not sure I know who I look for. Oh, maybe. Oh, we got one. Hey, Greg.
KCRG, and they said if you have any videos, send them to them.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, why aren't they here?
Notification of this event.
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
I have the copies. I have the press release with me, and I know the person who sent it, and I'm very certain that she did. So yes, I guess if you have video or if you have feedback on this event and you want to share with local news agencies, please feel free to do so in your own capacity. Another item that I want to call out that we have up here on the table as we're getting ready to wrap up here is these little missing posters we have for our representative. So if you have a nice place where you could display this, I don't know, maybe a little, yeah, maybe we didn't get it on a milk cart, that would be cool. You know, maybe a bulletin board, maybe somewhere where people put some eyes on this. Feel free to grab one and take it so that you can spread along the message that we're looking for her because we all have a lot to say. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have today. But we hear you, and we hope that Congresswoman Hinson hears all of us and steps up to represent her constituents.
That's right.
At this pivotal moment, it is vital that we keep the pressure on our representatives. If you haven't already, I welcome you to complete a comment card for Representative Hinson and drop it here at the door. We'll get it to her. Another powerful action anyone can take is to call your representatives and let them hear from you directly. The phone numbers for all three of our representatives, both their local and DC offices, are here on the screen. However, sorry. Leave a voicemail. I leave voicemails every day. Well, if the voicemail's full, that means we're doing our jobs. And you can email too. I do highly recommend using the 5 Calls app. That is available for free in the App Store and the Play Store. 5 Calls is a wonderful piece of technology. It will pull your representatives by zip code, give you one-touch dialing to call them. It'll even give you topics and suggest scripting in case your mind just blanks and you forget what you wanted to say, because that happens to me. I'd also like to mention that if you'd like to get involved in Indivisible here in Linn County, I welcome all of you to attend our next monthly meeting, which will be here at the Cedar Rapids Library on Thursday, April 3rd at 5:30 p.m. in the Beams Room. We are currently planning local initiatives and events, such as our Trump Tuesdays, where you'll see our members every Tuesday at noon on the corner of 8th and 2nd Street. They are there holding signs and demanding action. You are welcome to join us. We are also working on a hands-off event. That's going to be on Saturday, April 5th. More details to come on that, but essentially the theme will be telling Doge to keep their hands off our Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. As always, all are welcome because together we are indivisible and together we are unstoppable. And finally, we'd like to thank all of our speakers here today again for sharing their stories. Can I see a question here, sir?
I was just wondering, how many people know where her office actually is? She is hidden it pretty well. It's in a Dow's building on the 2nd floor off the skywalk.
Okay. I'm hearing Dow's building, 2nd floor on the skywalk. To find Ms. Hinson's office, this gentleman can give you specific instructions. Thank you, sir. All right. I also want to thank the Indivisible Linn County for organizing this event, and the Cedar Rapids Public Library for graciously hosting us, and of course, all of you for showing up to support your friends and neighbors. Thank you.